What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing. I just finished up watching Artem Dalakian versus David Jimenez, and this was a 12-rounder for the WBA Flyweight World Championship. And this fight was Saturday, January 28th, from the Wembley Arena in London, England. And this fight was broadcasted on ESPN, ESPN Plus, or on the ESPN app. And in this fight, Artem Dalakian was able to get a unanimous decision victory over David Jimenez. So I personally scored this bout 115 to 113 in favor of Artem Dalakian. I did agree with the three judges who had this bout, very similar to how I had it. Two of them had it 115 113, and one of them had it 116 112. All these scorecards were obviously in favor of Dalakian by unanimous decision. So the thing is, first of all, let me just address this. Like when I was watching on the ESPN broadcast with like Tim Bradley, Andre Ward, and so on. I mean, they were really, really in favor of Jimenez. I think they had it for Jimenez in the end. But I thought that Dalakian clearly won this fight, even though I did have it very close. I thought that Dalakian's work overall, especially early, really won him this fight. And just to break it down round by round, the first 3 rounds I thought were really key. Was really a key section of this fight for Dalakian for him to win. Those first 3 rounds, Dalakian, even though he wasn't really putting a lot behind the shots that he was throwing, he was much more effective than Jimenez. He was boxing better on the outside with more effective shots, whilst Jimenez was trying to come forward and he was missing a lot. But then in the 4th round, I thought that Jimenez showed some good work. He came forward, was more active, had some nice pressure, so I gave him the 4th round. But there was a nice shot in that 4th round landed by Dalakian, but I thought it was overshadowed by the work from Jimenez. Then in round number 5, that was a closer round, but I edged it to Dalakian. I thought he had better piggy patter work on the outside. Then I thought that round 6 and 7 were clear for Dalakian. I thought he was just much more effective on the outside. But then I gave the 8th round to Jimenez. I thought that he had better work. Just coming forward again. And in those rounds that Jimenez would win, he was just much more active than Dalakian, because the thing is, throughout this fight, Dalakian, he was much less active than Jimenez, but, I mean, in the rounds that Jimenez won, Jimenez was more active, but he was also more effective with his shots. But in most of the rounds that Dalakian won, he might have been less active, but he was still landing more effective, fast combinations on the outside. So, yeah, like I was saying, that 8th round I gave to Jimenez. Round 9, I also gave to Jimenez. And in those later rounds, I gave a lot of them to Jimenez. He had much better work late, was much more active, and he showed that he really wanted this title in those later rounds, and was just really showing that he wanted to get a finish, or that he wanted to win. Because in round 9, he gave it to Jimenez. Then in round number 10, that was the only round that I did give to Dalakian in the last 4 or 5 or so. So yeah, the 10th round I gave to Dalakian. I thought that he started to pick up the pace a bit more, and it looked like he was sort of researching what happened earlier. But then that statement completely got thrown away, as in rounds 11 and 12, Jimenez went right back to work like he did in rounds 8 and 9, and he had much better work than Dalakian coming forward, and clearly won those rounds in my opinion. So if you were watching this fight, comment down below how you scored it, and I want to see if anyone did have it for Jimenez, because I'm very interested to see if really there was that many varying scorecards for this fight. But it was a pretty tough fight to score, to be 100% honest, because the styles and how they were matching up in this one made it very interesting. So this goes in the question, after Dalakian gets this win, what is next for him? I mean, he was very inactive leading up to this fight, 14 months out of the ring. I believe he only fought in the Ukraine and all that in his past couple fights, defending his titles in his home country. But now this was really, I guess you could say, his biggest fight to date, even though it wasn't winning the title or anything, because it was broadcasted on ESPN all over the world. It was in the UK in a big arena, on a big platform, also in the UK too. So it was really a big fight for him, a big showcase. But this was a solid win. I mean, he just beat a guy who was top 10 ranked by BoxRec. So for Dalakian, I would really like to see him stay active, get back in the ring, and face someone who's ranked either top 5, top 10 in the division or possibly unify, because you got to remember he has like 6 or 7 defenses, so it's definitely possible he can get called up to unify titles at 100. I believe this is 112 pounds, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, so he's the flyweight world champion, defended his title, and I believe he is the regular title holder, the WBA title holder. I don't think he's the full super champion, but nonetheless, still a decent title defense for him. And like I said, I would expect him to either unify or fight a fighter that's somewhere ranked amongst the top 15 in the division. But as for David Jimenez, losing here for, I think it's the first time in his career. Yeah, so this was his first ever loss here. Now he is 12-1. I mean, getting this opportunity to fight for a world title, he got winning via upset over Ricardo Sandoval, where he dropped him, won a close decision on the zone. But this was yet another big showcase fight for him, fighting for a world title. Obviously, a very big opportunity on ESPN. Before this, obviously, fighting on the zone in a big fight. So he's coming off 2 really solid performances against top tier, like top 10, top 15 flyweight. So I definitely would like to see him back on one of the top platforms on like an undercard, co-main event, whatever, against a decent fighter. But for Jimenez, I mean, I definitely think he could improve even more from here in the next few years. So overall, Artem Dalakian defeats David Jimenez by unanimous decision to successfully defend his WBA flyweight world title. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.